Hey,
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
hey, good to see you again. You doing all right?
Yeah, you too. Good. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How
Awesome,
about you?
man.
Oh, look, this is your new studio in the background.
This is so the everyone thinks that I've moved into a new studio, and I understand why. But the truth is, I've been working on a studio. My wife and I are building a spot, and we've been working on it for like the last 6 months. That's an actual
Okay.
like full. I've redone my current studio, but we're building like
Yeah,
a huge
a
like
standalone.
legit. Yeah, it looks like a penitentiary right now because it's just a big poured concrete building, but
Yeah.
it'll be so nice to have like a huge tracking room,
Yeah, I was going to say that would be. Obviously we can talk about all that, like, because I did want to talk to you a bit about that as well, like, in terms of like you've since I talked to you last, you're like really on the move in the sense, you're producing, you're engineering, you've got your own label, you're building a studio. It's impressive, like the way that you're moving into all of that as well.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to follow the things that I'm inspired by, and
Yeah,
I feel like every record I make for another artist, I come away with all of these other, you know, thoughts and inspirations that I can then apply to my own creations and it's been great too. That's one of the cool things about having a guy like Caleb Crosby in the Shakedown is like everybody wants Caleb to play on their record, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
I mean, like Dolly Parton's been calling Caleb to come play play with her. So it's like, I think it's just trying to pay attention to, we have a cool little community here and how can we best you know, take
mm,
advantage of that and make cooler art
yeah,
as often, as much as we can.
yeah. And it's just, I guess you're right. It's in terms of, obviously you've always been making music yourself, but then that must open up a whole other world to you in terms of understanding the ins and outs. I was going to ask you like how Rattleshake is going. I mean, understanding the ins and outs of running your own label, right? Because that's a whole other thing in its own right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's been a huge learning experience for us.
Yeah,
And we've we've hired some people and we've hired some new people and we're just trying to find the right partners to grow it,
yeah,
and we've kind of still been the guinea pigs for it for a little while, just kind of working out the kinks and setting up our infrastructure.
yeah,
Um, and it's been so rewarding for us to be able to go direct to our fan base with
yeah,
music. And, we told our fans when we started Rattleshake, we were starting this in an effort to release more music and
yeah,
to sort of be freed um from the system in a way, because
yeah,
it was always like, for me, a little bit discouraging to make a record and then have to wait 6 months or a year to put it out, to be on someone else's schedule, to wait on another band to finish their release so that the
yeah,
label can focus on you. And it's like, man, I just, who has the time for that? I don't have the time for that or the patience.
yeah.
um
And I mean,
and
it's
so
good, right? Like you've been incredibly productive in terms of there's been. I mean, since Rattleshake is set up, you've done Live from '79, Dirty Work, Shake the Roots, and now you've got Electrified coming. So it's like it's good. I mean, you're putting out new music like at a really
yeah,
good rate. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that's like, I went and saw this band, the Inspector Clouseau, the other night, and they're
yeah,
farmers, and they were talking about sustainable farming, and I feel like that's sort of the approach that we've adopted for making records. It's like, how
yeah,
can we do this? How can we, and part of that is also fueled by the fact that I'm obsessed with engineering and
yeah,
recording, producing. So that obviously lends itself to making more music,
yeah,
because whenever I want to, if I have an idea, I've sort of abandoned the thought of like making a demo and then
yeah,
letting that represent the song for 6 months until you can work it out or whatever. It's more like, hey, if we have a song we like and we're playing it in the room, let's
yeah,
record it and then move on to the next thing, and kind of treating music more like pictures,
yeah,
where you have a Polaroid camera, you walk around, you see your friend, they're
yeah,
having a good time, smiling, you take a picture,
yeah,
you know, and, um, and just kind of treating it like that, like capturing moments and then letting those moments exist and then moving on to new moments is
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just kind of how I've been thinking about it now, and it feels really inspiring. So we're just
I,
gonna ride that wave.
it's definitely working. I mean, when I listen to the new album as well, and it must be kind of. I mean, you kind of saying it right. You've got everything in your own hands. I mean, because you and the Shakedown tend to produce. Have you? Was it you producing Electrified as well? And
Yeah,
engineering it?
it's just
Yeah,
the band
yeah,
I
yeah.
have.
So it's like you've really got the whole ecosystem in your hands there, right? So, and that must be incredibly liberating. Like you say, you can just be in a room together and go, okay, this is it. Like, here's the inspiration. Let's just do it now. We've got everything in our own hand. You got the studio, whether it's at home or in the future, the actual studio, and then you've got the
Yeah,
label and all the mechanics behind it to put that out.
yeah.
So
It's a very organic way of working, and I mean, but even with the records I've been working on for other artists,
yeah,
obviously, like the Larkin Poe thing is, with the Blood Harmony record, I think like that was such a fun record to make, and a lot of the record was cut in our home studio, and then
yeah,
uh, an engineer named Roger Allen Nichols that I love works a lot on the vocals and the guitars, and but it's still like it was insane to kind of to get to go to the Grammys and watch them bring home a Grammy
yeah,
for a record that was largely done in our home studio, and another reason that sort of a lot of energy's been going into
yeah,
building out this place specifically designed for the Shakedown, for Larkin Poe, for the people in our little boat that I like just wholeheartedly believe in, and I love this music as like a fan of it. And,
yeah,
I think to have a space that's gonna you know be able to feed into that is gonna be really rewarding, because I was counting, I made like 14 records down here in
yeah,
my humble basement studio.
yeah,
So it's like this is clearly something I'm passionate about, and now with Rattleshake
yeah.
and making records for other artists, I think it's going to be a really inspiring thing to have unfold.
Yeah. And I mean, Blood Harmony was a great record. That's the thing, right? These aren't records that sound like they're recorded in a basement studio. They're so well produced. We saw him out behind that record actually at Talia Hall in Chicago. Yeah, I've just got like an image of them doing Pick the Blues with like Rebecca bouncing from one side of the stage to the other. It was a really good show. Um,
Yeah, that man, it's just so inspiring. And then that's been a cool thing for me with in my relationship with my wife, to learn how to write songs with her and to collaborate with her,
yeah,
because it's not collaborating with her, it's collaborating with Megan as well,
yeah,
and they have such a thick sister dynamic that
yeah.
it's just a lot of fun to get to work with them, and then also Rebecca and I have developed a bit of a writing style, and we've just been collaborating with this artist named Ruthie Foster.
Okay. Oh
And
yeah, yeah. Ruthie's on this album, right? The new album.
yeah, she guested on a song on the Shakedown record, because we were finishing up her record. She
Yeah.
was in Nashville here at the studio, working on her album, and I mean, there's a lot of like really cool music that I'm excited about right now.
And that's such a that's Happy Gets Made, right? Which is a great song on the album. And her voice on that is incredible.
Oh,
Like
isn't
brings
that
so much,
insane?
yeah.
So the story behind that is I had kind of been working on this song
Mm.
that I thought that the Shakedown needed, sort of a bluesy song. Happy Gets Made was the last song that we wrote for Electrified,
Yeah.
and so I came up with an idea. I sent it to Caleb and Graham, and I kind of heard crickets.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, maybe they don't like it." And I ultimately ended up talking to Caleb, and he was like, "I really liked the idea. I just didn't think it was for us." And because I kind of got crickets from them, I showed it to Ruthie, and
Yeah.
she heard the idea going in a different direction.
Yeah.
And then when sang it, I knew, I was like, "Oh, this song is not meant for me. This is meant for her."
Yeah.
So Ruthie and Rebecca and I finished writing this particular song, and she put it on her album. And as we were finishing her record, we had a couple hours to kill before she was going to fly back to Texas, and she said, "Well, I took one of your songs. Maybe I should sing on one of yours." And so I said, "Hey, well, I wrote this song last night called Happy Gets Made. Would you just put a vocal down? I don't know if it's going to be on the record or whatever." And she went and sang, and I was like, "Yeah, this is going on our record." It was just, she's so incredible.
Yeah. And it's like that's a great song, but the whole record itself as well. You know, you're talking about sort of Larkin having that family thing going on. Now I think when I listen to your records, and we talked a bit about this before, like you, Caleb and Graham, and now Ryan to an extent, but like particularly you and Graham, some of the playing on this record is great. It's like when I was what was I listening to? It was like Snake Oil, that into that where you guys are like doubling the guitar part. Harmony, it's got like Allman Brothers vibes about it, but it just
Right.
the way you guys play off of each other now sounds amazing on this record. It really does. It's
Oh,
like
thank you so
yeah,
much. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm very pleased with the guitar parts and just how, and I feel like with each record, Graham and I are like better finding our way around each
yeah,
other's styles. And Graham was a real sort of advocate for the Snake Oil song, because
yeah,
I just written it on an acoustic guitar, and ultimately I was writing a lot with Larkin Poe, and we were kind of saying like, oh, it'd be cool to do something in this style, and I started
yeah,
writing that song, you know, to show it to Larkin Poe, and then we got together to write, and Rebecca said, "Tyler, what was that Snake Oil idea you've been singing all morning?" And I was, "Oh, I don't remember. I don't,"
yeah, yeah.
because
I'm
I
keeping that one.
at that point I knew I really wanted it for Shakedown, and as soon as Graham came over and started playing the harmony to my riff,
Yeah,
it was okay. Yeah, this works well for us.
it's like that. I love that Tom Petty documentary. It's like that bit in there, right, where he was writing the songs for oh, what's she called from Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks, and like a couple of those he wrote, and he's like, oh, I think I want to keep this one myself now, and kind
Yeah,
of take it back. Yeah, but
yeah,
it's really like that's one of the things I picked out on this record. And actually last time we saw you live in Chicago, it's just because it's not an easy thing to do in terms of like finding space in a song and filling it the right way when you're a guitar player, right? And that I think is what kind of you and Graham do really well. You know, if you're holding the rhythm part down, he'll find something interesting to do, but not stepping all over your lyric or anything like that. And then the other
yeah,
way around, I was watching it was one of those Gibson garage or like where they go on Gibson to talk, and there was Sadler Vaden from Jason Isbell in the 400 unit talking about how he does that. You know how writing with Jason, he just has to find a space to fill. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just add into the song. And you guys do that so well on this album, particularly. I think. Yeah, it's
thank
I really enjoyed it. I was going to ask you about a couple of the songs because like the ones I enjoyed. You always know how to open an album. Like I love between the lines.
you.
I know Pressure. I remember we got like an early listen to Pressure, and just that opener on Pressure. I remember being like, and I love between the lines on this one. I think I like Trick Up My Sleeve. I was
Yeah,
going to ask you about that one when you're writing that. Is that when you were writing that? When I listened to the lyrics to that, I could take that as like your experience in the music industry as well, in terms of like I'm going to show you guys what I can do. You maybe don't believe in me, but I've got something here that I know I can do. Was that in your mind when you wrote that one?
it's funny with Trick Up My Sleeve. That was one where I had been writing a lot of rock and roll songs kind of in a row,
Yeah,
and um, actually I was writing with Dave Rude from Tesla.
yeah. Oh,
And
really?
Dave kept coming over, and I think we did like 3 days in a row where we were just getting together and writing rock songs, and loud drums, loud guitar amps, just full tilt. And the thing I like about Dave is he's not one of these guys that'll be like, let's write a song, and then he shows up, at 10 a.m. and by 3 p.m. he's ready to leave. Like he's in it for the ride, and that's how the Shakedown kind of operates. It's like if we start something, we're gonna finish it
Yeah,
today more than likely.
yeah.
So because we also have the attention span of like squirrels, so we have to finish things while we're inspired by them. And so Dave and I have been writing rock song after rock song after rock song, and I remember kind of just like hitting a wall and being like, I want to just play an acoustic guitar in the kitchen right now. Let's go
Yeah,
make a coffee and just strum some acoustic guitars. And he kind of started playing the da 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 da, and I started spitting out some lyrics, and he
yeah,
started spitting out some lyrics, and I don't think I was thinking about anything specific, but I think there has been this sense, sort of this uh, feeling with the Shakedown throughout our career, and I think it's something that inspires us. This is not like a woe is me thing, but I think we have always kind of felt like underdogs
yeah,
because type of music that we like is not necessarily mainstream. It's there are a lot of other little like things we could do to probably make our lives easier, but we really love the what we do,
yeah,
and so I don't know. I wasn't necessarily thinking about that, but that
yeah.
has been a feat for a long time, which is yeah, this we may not be everyone's cup of tea, but we are a cup of tea. You know?
Yeah, you are. You are what you are, and this is, and I love it though. You sticking with it, and like this, I, when I listen to it, it's just like a balls to the wall like rock and roll album with some blues built into it. There's some great like walking blues kind of tracks in there, but with a rock edge on them as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that always is there, and like the between the lines thing, so that song was actually it was originally called Movers and Shakers,
Yeah.
and that was the precursor to a song that ended up being on Shake the Roots called Tennessee.
Oh
Because
yeah, I
I
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we kind of had two songs with the same exact chord progression, and Tennessee sort of won out
Yeah.
on that record. But I loved the lyrics, movers and shakers. Here's to every ship that keeps passing in the night, and like picturing some of these faces that have come to Shakedown shows for
Yeah.
years, years and years, and it's like, okay, you're like us, you get this,
Yeah.
and kind of like wanting to tip our hat to our little club that we've
Yeah.
created, and
Yeah.
so we felt that between the lines was a good way to open the record, and it sort of it has the rock and roll feel that we felt represented this period of the band, while also tipping its hat to the blues roots.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great opener. I was going to ask you as well, like when I listened to the lyrics on this one and Lonely, I know you've got Larkin on that record. I was also listening to those lyrics and I'm like, is that a bit pitched towards, you and Rebecca constantly being on the road, like at different times? Was that in your mind when you wrote that one?
Yeah, well, that one was absolutely like I
Yeah.
Rebecca was on some marathon, 5 week, 6 week tour across Europe, and I just kind of had that phrase, "You're my one and my lonely," pop into
Yeah.
my head because when you are, committed to someone the way that I'm committed to my wife,
Yeah.
and she's a touring musician and I'm a touring musician, you're committed to being lonely a lot of the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
alone at least,
Yeah.
not, but. And so I kind of wrote that song and did a little version of it and sent it to her just to like let her know I was thinking about her, and then kind of played it for the guys in the band one night when they were like, dude, we should do this. I love this, and
It's a great
it
song.
ended
It's a
up
great tune.
turning out really really um, pretty. And then just through like all of the time spent with the Larkin Poe girls, like Megan and I've really developed a cool way of playing slide together.
Yeah. I was going to ask
And
you about, is that Megan on One and Lonely?
yeah, so I'm playing the resonator, and she's playing the harmony on the lap steel. And so
Yeah.
there's very, very few people who could just instinctively hear those melodies like that and play
Yeah.
it so beautifully, you know. And Rebecca sings the background vocals.
Yeah.
So, and this is also, it's been a natural thing to have Rebecca guest sing on Shakedown records.
Yeah.
Um, but we kind of realized like we've never had Megan play on anything.
Yeah.
Like a crying shame. I mean, it obviously the Shakedown has never been short on
Yeah.
guitars or guitar
Yeah.
parts. So, but we did intentionally like leave some room for Megan to run on that
Yeah.
tune.
It's great. There's some great slide in that one. and then I was as I was listening through the album, I think I've asked you this before because it's something that I always wonder if bands still think about. Uh, do you guys? I think you said you know you do obsess a little bit over this when you put these songs together. So here you are, right? You've got the 11 that are going on the album. Do you then obsess over what order they're going in on the album?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, you know, just to just such an annoying extent where, we do this thing for every record called Tops and Tails where we'll cut the intro and the outro of each song and we'll make it like a 5 second clip and then we'll put it into the next song and then we move those around almost like a little musical collage. And I think on this record we probably did like 6 or 7 different versions of that. And then comes like a private SoundCloud link where we can move them around and
Yeah.
everyone has different opinions. And but then the other thing you have to lot for is vinyl time. If
Yeah.
you don't want to have side A be way longer than side B or
Yeah.
too much time and then the sound quality gets sacrificed. So we put a lot of thought into it.
Because it goes, I think it's got a great narrative to it, the way that it goes through. And then I love that you finished on on Carefree Easy Rolling because that is such a great song. I love that opening to that. I love tunes where the guitar is basically doubling the vocal line. So you've got your
Yeah.
vocal with the guitar then playing behind it. It sounds so good on that track. I really like it's a great closing track for the album.
Caleb Caleb really wanted that to be the closer because you can hear that there was sort of like a vocal moment from whenever I was singing where I wanted to do it again. I said, "Hey, hit me one more time," or something like that. Give it to me again. And Caleb thought that was a cool way to end the record to have a moment like that because then you're basically saying, "Yeah, we're gonna do this again."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
um, but we can kind of assign meaning to a lot of different things, and I think that is you know that's a special thing to be. We love these songs and like Carefree Easy Rolling. That's a song that I wrote with Rebecca. Just thinking about being being young, being when I lived back in Texas and I didn't have to worry about anything, and I was making music just in my bedroom on an 8-track recorder, not thinking about even releasing it. And
yeah,
it's like we were kind of thinking about like how do you get back there and stay there in your
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
So that was sort of the inspiration for that too.
Yeah, that's the trick, I think, right? If you could just take yourself back to that space and live there forever, it would be perfect. I think about that a lot. Like where I am in my life now, I'm like, man, it was so nice when you were younger, right? And that was all you had to worry about, that one thing or whatever. And now that all these like competing priorities, it would be nice to snap your fingers and go back there.
Absolutely,
If
absolutely. That's cool that you like that one.
Yeah, I really like that one, and I thought it was a great way to. I'm glad it's nice that you said there was some thought in that in terms of that being the close because I thought it was a great way to close out the album,
Yeah,
and like on the journey through the album.
yeah. There
One
were a
thing,
couple of there were a couple of strong contenders for closers on the record.
yeah,
Yeah, and One and Lonely being one that we thought that
yeah,
would be good in the song in the record, and then we thought Moving would be a good way to end the record because it's
moving's a good track. Yeah, moving's a
we
good,
always get on the move again, and
yeah,
it's like, all right, show's over, we got to move now.
yeah,
But I think Carefree Easy Rolling is a good way to
yeah.
roll into whatever's next.
Yeah, I liked moving, and I liked it. I guess not autobiographical, right? But those lines about, you're a long way from Texas. I guess you were thinking about just life in general in terms of, moving out of Texas into Nashville, being on the road. It was a nice,
Yeah, well, we were kind of originally we started we've had this little alligator head in our band van forever,
yeah,
and we call him Randy, and we were kind of joking about like, yeah, he had to get out of the swamp because all this bad stuff was happening down there, and then we were kind of laughing about. I was like, I had to move out of my small town in Texas, because rumors spread like
yeah,
wildfire, and
yeah,
and Caleb was like, I had to get out of Kentucky, because that whiskey there, and
Yeah,
then Graham, being from New York, was like, you never get sleep in New York because all, you
yeah,
know, sirens and the car horns. So there's a verse for every band member in that song
yeah.
about leaving our respective homes.
You seem really, I mean, you referenced it at the beginning now, like the scene in Nashville, you seem really comfortable there.
Yeah,
And like it was what you and Graham were kind of introduced there in Nashville, right? Was that where you met him?
I met him in New York City at a radio interview, but we really kind of like struck up a friendship in Nashville.
Yeah,
It was like when I met Graham, it was just like kind of a passing moment, and
yeah,
then I met him a second time out in California, and then we became friends, and I convinced him to come to Nashville and just spend some time, and he slept on my couch for a little while,
yeah,
and we became very fast musical friends here
yeah,
in Nashville. You know,
yeah. Now
we I
you've got
remember the night that Graham got to Nashville, we set up all of my amps in my living room, and man, I lived in this duplex at the time, so there was a tenant on the other side of the wall,
oh,
and we
shit.
just had amps just pointing towards the wall. We were not even thinking, just completely inconsiderate.
Yeah,
And man, we were getting ready to go out on this tour with Pat Benatar and REO Speedwagon, and
nice.
so we'd acquired these wireless systems, and I remember Graham and I opening the doors to my duplex and walking as far down the street as we could with our guitars to see how far we could still hear the amps.
Yeah. That's nice.
Oh,
Yeah, the neighbors would have loved it, I'm sure.
yeah.
I know we're coming up on 30 minutes. I've got to ask you one more thing because this was like this must be a dream for any guitar player. Fender signature guitar. What was that like getting
Oh
the
my God.
opportunity?
Yeah, that's totally a dream come true.
Yeah,
Um, and it was a very tough secret for me to keep because we worked on it for a very long time, and
yeah,
you know, I really think that that's something that I owe to a lot of like Shakedown fans, people
yeah,
who came at shows with pink guitars
yeah,
to get signed or whatever, and I would always take a picture of them and then I would send them to Fender and
yeah,
say, and so I acquired like so many pictures of the people's lookalike pinky guitars, and finally Fender said, "All right, we're gonna do it." And, it was just such an honor to get to go out to the Fender factory with my guitar because they said you can ship your guitar out here, and I was like, "Yes," and I'll ship myself with
yeah.
it.
I'll come as yeah. You've got to go and see the process. What is
I
it? So
took my
'cause it's always sounds amazing to me. Like when I watch some of those videos about because they're literally they're scanning the things like down to the last millimeter, right, to get an exact replica, effectively.
oh man, yeah, and I took Rebecca, and it was a really memorable time, and just like just to go there and to just kind of feel the history of all the guitars that have been made in that factory, and
Yeah,
think like I grew up playing guitars that were made here, and now because of like you know my parents both worked two jobs when I was growing up and they sacrificed to buy me a Fender Stratocaster, and now I'm here getting to put my name on one. It was a very
yeah,
cool moment, and I got to give one to my family in Texas as well,
which is
as like
awesome. Right?
thank you for working your ass off so I can do this.
Yeah.
But man, just it's so cool, and I've been playing them every night. The
Yeah. So
signature models are sort of
they've
like,
nailed it. They've nailed it like in terms of it feels like the original.
yeah, I took the first prototype to Europe as soon as I got it, and I didn't even take the original.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of I did that sort of in an attempt to go, will I will I miss it? And it was it was remarkable how little I even thought about it. Like when I'm holding it, I don't even really notice that it's not.
Yeah.
I look at the body because the body doesn't look. I didn't want it to look like mine because mine was beat up just through years of dragging it around and playing. So I didn't want them to come looking like they'd had termites stored in the case.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But it gives you the opportunity. I guess it allows you then to leave that original one at home so you're not worried about it all the time because yeah, that's
Yeah.
I mean Yeah, you
Well,
fell short with that
I
guitar
still,
because that original was stolen. Your first one was stolen, right, on tour. So
yeah, well, I still take it on the road, you know,
yeah.
but we did one tour in Europe. We went over there with Airborne a little while back, and my guitars were lost for like a couple of weeks. And so I do get a little bit paranoid if I can't carry it onto the plane with me, then I
Yeah,
probably won't fly with it. But you know, it's just amazing to have something that I can count on.
yeah.
But you know, at this point, there's so many pink guitars in my touring arsenal that they all have little,
You
you
can
know,
know it on
pieces
them.
on the headstock to differentiate on a dark stage which one is which.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I mean, honestly, it's a fantastic album. Like, I've really enjoyed listening to it. It was awesome to get the early listen, and it's been like on the headphones as I've been walking in and back from work all week. So I really enjoy it. Are you touring off the back of it? I know you've got some dates coming up.
Yeah, yeah, we're going to Lexington, Kentucky tomorrow, and then we're in Huntsville, Alabama, then Nashville, and then we're going to North Carolina, South Carolina. You know, doing some American dates, and
Yeah.
then try to get back over to Europe and the UK this year. But yeah, I just always, I'm either in the studio or on the road.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I hope that doesn't stop for a long time because
Yeah.
it's working definitely. Um,
Okay. Well, hey,
and
as always, thanks for taking time and thanks for listening to what we've been working on.
no, I love it anytime. I love the conversations. I'll speak anytime to you.
Oh man, thank you very much. And all the best, and look
Yeah,
forward to seeing you sometime soon.
yeah. Hopefully, see you on the road soon.
All right, brother.
Thanks, mate.
Take care, man. Bye.
Bye.